Tax day is coming.
Oh, no.
But if you sign up for Robinhood Gold's IRA with a 3% match, you can get up to $195 for the 2023 tax year.
Oh, yeah.
Sign up at Robinhood.com/boost by tax day to get the biggest contribution match on the market. Subscription fees apply.
Investing involves risk. 3% match requires gold for 1 year from first match. Must keep IRA for 5 years. Robinhood Financial, LLC, member SIPC.
Welcome to the Dragon's Lair. Hello and welcome to the Dragon's Lair podcast, the podcast all things dragons and rugby in the region. I'm Jamie, hope you are well, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Gavin Thomas. How are we, Gav?
I'm very well, Jamie, very well. As a Dragons fan, we started so optimistically, and here we are, one game in, and we're already raking through the ashes.
It's the hope that kills you. I've always said it, and I always will continue to say it. It is the hope that kills you. How's your week been? All good? Been up to anything?
I've been off work most of the week, so it's been quite good, to be honest. I've done absolutely nothing.
Sounds good.
I've played a lot of Football Manager, watched a lot of documentaries about 60s pop, not done a lot of anything else.
You're living the dream. That sounds great to me.
I really am.
Okay, so let's get into it. The disappointment of the weekend. So we was hoping Dragons would get off to a winning start. Unfortunately, they didn't. They lost 22-17 to Edinburgh on Saturday. So Dragons led from the second minute to the 73rd, yet they had to settle for a losing bonus point. So Seal Tonkinson and Corey Baldwin went over in the opening quarter for the Dragons, and we led 14-3 at the break. It was all going pretty well first half. But 65 minutes gone, it was 17-9, and Ben Volocott went over and scored for Edinburgh. And then the visitors took the spoils thanks to the right boot of former Munster and Scottish international fly half Ben Healy, who I must say had a very good game. So that result means the Dragons haven't won at Ronnie Prey now for over a year. And the last time they won an opening day fixture in the league was when, Gav? Any ideas? Do you want to have a stab at this? What year do you think it was? The last time
I'm going to say kind of Ruddock era, probably. So I'm going to say 2004.
No, it's actually later than that. It's 2013, and that was against Ulster.
Oh.
So, more recent than we think, but still a long time ago. So very disappointing game. Let's be honest, Gav, we blew it, didn't we? We was in position to win that game. We was in control, but the second half, it really didn't live up to the first. And there's nothing else to say apart from the fact that, to sum it up, we blew it.
I think, and I'll say this a lot of times, I've already said it, I think sometimes pragmatism is undervalued in rugby. And it's great to watch teams chucking it about. But, England almost beat South Africa because they just played the game that suited them, and they suited the game. We could have easily won that game against Edinburgh if in the second half we just absolutely shut up shop, shoved her in the corners when we had our opportunity, when we're 17-9 up or whatever it is, and we've kicked to the corner. I know we got away with her in the first half. And kind of even then, I'm like, why are we kicking to the corner? But we got our second try. But just shove it, if we kicked that, who knows? And it was a very Dragons performance, wasn't it? Because for 40 minutes, well, I'd say about 35 minutes, we looked absolutely superb.
We did, yeah.
Kind of Tomkinson looking the best I think he's looked in the Dragons shirt. Him and Steph Hughes really playing well together. I think the pack did well, apart from in the scrum, we were under the cosh from the off with Abby, and the rolling maul looked really effective. I think Angus O'Brien looked great, really kind of just making the right choices. And then the second half, we just got bullied.
Yeah, let's have a look at the talking points of that game. So Theo Tompkinson had a try disallowed. He scored one. We did have one disallowed in the first half, and there's been a lot of Dragon supporters up in arms about it on Facebook, social media, and there was quite a bit of an angry hoo-ha in the ground when the replay showed it. But I've watched the game back and I've looked at that decision several times. Now, to me, I don't know what you think, it does look like Angus O'Brien knocked the ball on in the tackle.
He did.
So, yeah. But a lot of people are adamant he didn't. I've seen it a few times now, and to me, it did look like a knock-on. So I'm okay with that decision. I think it was actually the right one. But let's go back to, and you mentioned it, the turning down kickable points in that game. So we actually turned down kickable points, first of all, in the 22nd minute. So Dragons were 14-0 up. Ben Healy gives away a penalty, just dives on the ball from the side, penalty Dragons. Now, instead of taking the points, which is what I would have done, that would have been 17-0, we kick it to the corner. Unfortunately, Bradley Roberts then doesn't throw it in straight, penalty Edinburgh. So that's one opportunity that's blown, And then we get the one that you talked about earlier on there. So in the 52nd minute, we were 17-6 up, and we kick to the corner, we get turned over on Edinburgh's try line. If we kick the points there, that would have been 26. That's quite a big buffer, because Edinburgh wasn't actually that good, I have to be honest. No. I don't think they were playing a lot of rugby. They didn't actually look like scoring a try until they did. It was only a brilliant fair play, and Ben really did play well, and he did deserve his play with the match award. It was a brilliant break for him that put Bella caught in. But before that, Edinburgh were very conservative. They were quite happy to kick the ball. They weren't really showing much spark or adventure with ball in hand, unlike ourselves. So, yeah, I thought that was the wrong decision. And I don't know if you watched the game back on Fireplace Sports.
I did, yes.
So John Barclay's commentate with Tom Shanklin, and when they get turned over, John Barclay says to Tom Shanklin, do you think that was the right decision, Shanks? Should they have gone for the 3 points? And Tom Shanklin says, yeah, it was the right decision, I think, because, Dragons really had Edinburgh under pressure there. Well, I remember watching at the time and thinking that wasn't the right decision. Like, for me, I'm quite old-fashioned and conservative. I think when the points are on offer and you're building a lead, I think you should always take the 3. Now, it wasn't as if we were chasing the bonus point try, because we'd only scored 2 tries. So you can't even use that excuse to say, well, they were going for the bonus point, because that wasn't on offer at the time. I think if we kick those 3 points, I think it puts a different complexion on the game. And I think Edinburgh then really have to chase, and that's when probably mistakes would have crept in. So those were 2 instances where we turned down kickable points, and it bit us really hard. And isn't it funny? Because do you remember when we did the episode with Dan from the Supporters Club, and we talked about when we played the Ospreys, and there was a big, hoo-ha, wasn't it, from Ospreys fans? They weren't happy that we took the points in a pre-season game. And we said, well, look, we want to practice this, because when it comes to competitive rugby, we want to build our winning habit and take the points. And then when it came to a competitive game where we needed to take the points, we didn't. It's just nuts, isn't it? It's so ironic.
And if the rolling maul had been so dominant, I would have understood it. But it was good. It functioned. It got us forward when we used them all, but it wasn't dominant. There was nothing in that game that I went, oh yeah, well, I can see why you've kicked for post there, kicked for the corner there, because we absolutely destroying them in the forwards. By the second half, we were not destroying them in the forwards. We were getting knocked out of every collision. We weren't winning our own rucks, never mind their rucks. Their forwards were absolutely on top. George Knott is a perfectly good second row. He's not a 6 for me. Or if he is, I don't know what it is that he does. He doesn't carry particularly hard. He's not slowing the ball up at the ruck enough. And when Keddy went off injured as well, I think with that HIA, we lost a bit of competition at the ruck then as well.
Yeah. I mean, Dave Flanagan does like to put locks such as Sean Lonsdale and George not on the blind side. I think he sort of does that to bulk up the back row of the pack a little bit. But like you said, does it work? Does it really work? I'm not sure. I thought George Knott was okay, but yeah, I do get your point.
I think it works if you've got Courtney Laws there, who big tackler, big ball carrier. George Knott is at neither of those things. He's a perfectly serviceable second row.
Absolutely. I was really disappointed with the game management, I have to say, because in those last 10 minutes, when Dragons fell behind, Ben Healy takes that penalty of suddenly. Like we were only 2 points behind at that point. I couldn't understand why we were trying to run it from our own 22.
No.
There were some wild passes. I mean, I'm a big fan of Will Reid, as you know. He's a very talented young man. But I think what we needed at that point, we needed someone. I know he's left now, but we needed someone like JJ Hanrahan in that situation, someone to calm it down, show a bit of leadership, because Will Reid was just flinging the ball here, there, and everywhere. I mean, there was one pass he threw, it went miles forward, it went out of touch. And I was thinking, no, this is not what we need. Why are we panicking? We panicked in those last 10 minutes. We were only 2 points behind. We just needed to play a cool, calm, territorial kicking game. But instead, we were just playing kamikaze rugby where we run it from our own 22, looking for the miracle pass. And it's something that John Barkley picked up on. I mean, he's a very good analyst and pundit, I think, John Barkley.
Yeah,
and he said something at the end of the game, which just stuck with me. He said, I'm not being funny when I say this, but you can tell Dragons are a team that don't win many games, because in those last 10 minutes, they panicked when they didn't need to. And that's how it felt to me as well, watching the side, thinking, why are we playing like this? Why are we throwing caution to the wind? We had plenty of time to get ourselves back into the game, yet we were playing silly rugby. We were trying to play barbarians rugby, flinging it all over the shop.
And if you compare that to South Africa, for instance, I'm not saying we're like South Africa.
Yeah.
But South Africa just had faith in their process against England. They had absolute faith in their progress. They weren't playing silly rugby. They were playing percentage rugby. And that's not sexy. And you won't get people on podcasts going, oh, let's make a video about how wonderful this team looks. But if you're winning games, nobody cares. I'm a firm believer in that. I'd rather us play really dour rugby and win than fling the ball around aimlessly and lose.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what happened in those last 10 minutes. We panicked. And you can tell that we're a team that's not used to closing out these tight games. Unfortunately, that is where the Dragons are, and that's where we've been for quite a while. I remember my dad saying to me, because I go to all the games with my dad, and I remember when Bellicott scored, he said, we'll lose this though, he said, because they look beaten already. And I was saying, well, hang on now, Dad, let's just see how these last 10, 15 minutes go. He was right, though. And you could feel the crowd getting quieter as well. They knew we were slipping away from them, and those last 10 minutes, it did feel like there was an air of predictability about it, Gav,
Even at 14-0 up, it didn't feel secure. It didn't feel secure at all at 14-0 up. And that's the problem, I think, because when Angus O'Brien went off, we lost that, because his kicking in the first half I thought was very good. He was stabbing in kicks short. He was kicking high, long ones. And I thought for the first 20 minutes, Healy looked a bit all at sea. It was only in the second half that Healy came in, because he was struggling with Angus O'Brien's kicking. And then, but you could, the ref took a dislike to Martinez's scrummaging quite early on, and that put us under cosh as well. It was a very Dragons performance, Jamie.
It's very Dragonsy, as I like to say.
Yeah, it was very Dragonsy. But they were, I don't think we need to go hiding in the shed quite yet, because I think there were positives to take out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's not dwell on the negatives too much. They were positives. So I thought Jared Rosser had a really good game, and he looked really hungry on the left wing. I don't know about what you thought. I thought he looked really, really sharp.
He was always looking for work, and it's his run where he's come in the centre of the field, which has created Tompkinson's try. It's he shouldn't have been anywhere near there. He's a left winger. It was right side of the field, kind of centre of the field. But he's hit that line at such pace, and then it's allowed Steph Hughes and Tompkinson to connect for that try. I thought he looked good. I thought Baldwin looked really good in attack, less so in defence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I think the Moore looked solid. Bradley Roberts looked decent getting around the park. Still not convinced of him as a technical hooker, but he put in the mileage. Keddy was good till he went off. I think there was lots of strengths. We just played the wrong rugby at the wrong times.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Seal Tompkinson, like you mentioned him earlier, I
Yeah,
thought he had a very good game. I'm expecting big things from him this season because I don't think we've quite seen the best of Seal. I think he's a very good player. I was a big fan of him in Super Rugby, but hopefully now we will see the best. I thought he was very good, I have to say. Angus O'Brien and Kai Evans, I thought they had really good games. Their
yeah.
kicking games in particular were spot on, and it was a shame that Kai Evans had to go off for a head injury, and unfortunately, he won't be available for Cardiff this weekend. Now, regulations say that he can actually play, but of course, Dave Flanagan is very cautious about these sort of things. He takes player welfare very seriously, so he's making that decision to sit out Kai Evans, which is fair enough, I guess.
Keddy won't be available either. Then I'm assuming.
Well, nothing's been said about Keddy.
Okay.
I've only seen Kai Evans about that. I haven't
Because he
seen
went
anything
off
yet.
with a HIA, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, he
Keddy,
did come back on, didn't he?
that's
He
true,
came back on, so I think he'll be okay. Steph Hughes, I thought, had a mixed bag. So he did combine the good with the bad. So he did set up Corby Baldwin's try in the first half. He was a really well executed cross kick. But then he made some bad errors as well. Like he kicked the ball dead in the first half. I mean, don't get me wrong, it could have been a very good 50-22, but unfortunately it went dead and we had to go back for scrum on the halfway line to Edinburgh. That early tackle of Ben Velicott, I don't know if you saw it, Seal Thompson did a chip.
Yes.
And instead of just letting Velicott gave it over the line for a scrum, unfortunately, he tackled him off the boy, tackled him too early. And then it went to the TMO and unfortunately got overturned. A big moment in the game, a really big moment. So, I'm a big fan of Steph Hughes, but also as well, I have got a question his captaincy with regards to turning down those kicks. And, I'm presuming it is him because he is the captain, but I thought those were two very poor calls. As much as I love Steph Hughes.
I'm assuming he's calling the defensive line as well. And the defence came up far too quickly a few times in the first half and then more so in the second half. They've come up quickly. They've come up at a slight angle. It's it's hard to describe on a oral podcast, but the line was bent every time it came up. It wasn't straight. Some people were coming up quicker. I get that if you're trying to put the kicker under pressure, but it was just the defensive line wasn't right and came up too quickly. That just needed to come up a bit easier. Could have created gaps, and that's where Healy was running into. Healy was running into gaps that was created by a defensive line that wasn't set properly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I love Steph Hughes. I'm not saying he was poor, but it was just some costly decisions, I think, that that really did bite us. So I thought now we'd have a look at some listeners' questions. So I put out a tweet and I put a post on Facebook asking listeners for their thoughts or questions, and we've had quite a few in fairness. So just start with Matt Williams. He says, thought our attacking play in the first half looked good. Good lines and angles of running. Our defence looked solid too. Second half, we just couldn't finish the game off. 2 turnover penalties on the try line is mental. They bullied our pack in the second half too, which is what you said. Really wrong about pack being bullied. Rodney Rover account on X says, was it the right call to turn down a shot or goal at 17-6 and kick to corner instead? Thought it was the wrong call personally. Gutted to lose a game we should have won. Well, we've talked about that. The answer, no. In my opinion, it wasn't the right decision. No. But then if we score a try from it, we're all like, yeah, well, brilliant call that was. What brave call it was to the corner. But I just think we had to be pragmatic at that stage. There's a time, as Chris Kerwin said in his match report, there's a time and a place, and we really needed to tighten up. We needed to see the game out, and that wasn't the time to throw caution to the wind, in my opinion.
But like that comment, that Rodney Rohrkamp has made, and you've said yourself there, does lead you. Where is the leadership on that field? Isn't it? It's. I like you. I like Steph. I think he's a great player. Is his leadership secure? Is he surrounded by other leaders? And I know there's a leadership group that's got George Norton and various other people. Yeah. George Norton was anonymous for me, and it's. I'm not sure what he's bringing to that particular thing. Where is the leadership going to come from? Maybe when Tane is back and Elliott is back and Dan Lydiate in the side, maybe there's going to be more leadership around the park. But at the minute, it feels a little rudderless.
The one thing I will say, I think the bench, I don't know what you thought about this. I thought the bench made very little impact when they came on. And when we needed leadership, like I said, we needed like a JJ Hanlon, and we needed experience and leadership off the bench. Nobody really gave that, did they? Like Joe Davis is a senior campaigner and he did okay, but there was no one really coming off the bench to give us any impact or to calm things down and just say, come on now, lads, let's not panic here, lose our heads. I thought that was missing.
I thought the back row was really imbalanced as well, particularly second half.
Yeah.
Because, at one point we had a number 8, a very good number 8, but then essentially 2 second rows. We're not winning any breakdowns with 2 second rows on the flanks. It's not bringing anything. Again, when Tane comes back, we'll have a stronger team, a stronger bench. But
no, I agree. Yeah. Nathan Dark gets in touch. He says, not taking 3 points in the first half in hindsight was wrong. Yeah, I mentioned that. Thought the changes disrupted us as well on 50 minutes. I'd move not to second row and throw Lydiate straight in for Sunday. Might be second game of the season, but already feels like a must-win. So there's a question for you then, Gav. We talked about Dragons having 4 home games in the first 5 fixtures. We've lost a game we arguably should have won. Is Cardiff a must-win on Sunday now for you?
I think it was a must-win anyway, and irrespective of what happened here. That monkey on our back is such a sizable monkey. It's King Kong size now, and we have to get it off, because if we don't, we're going to be 2 games in, 2 losses, with the likes of Munster and Leinster to look forward to, and trips to South Africa. It's not a good Cardiff side. This is the most winnable Cardiff game we have had for arguably 5-6 years.
Yeah, I agree.
We are short of players, because the WRU needs more money, but so are they.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. Yeah, and we will talk about the Cardiff game later on. We will do our preview and predictions. Another comment here from Zippy. He says, lack of consistency, didn't take easy points when we had scored for a while. Too many kicks, not chased later on. Yeah, I did think there were times where I thought, the kick chase was rather poor, seemed a bit sluggish. I don't know whether that was fatigue, and Dave Flanagan mentioned fatigue after the game, and a few supporters are saying, well, why is he talking about fatigue? It was the first game of the season, but I'm guessing that was the first proper competitive game, wasn't it? Pre-season, you're making so many changes that, I think this was the first big blowout for the players, I would say. Maybe that's why he talked about fatigue.
They're all paid to do that, though. You would hope that they wouldn't be quite so fatigued this early in the season.
Yeah, I was thinking, oh gosh, about the fatigue bit. I'm just trying to find the other comments because my Facebook now has crashed.
I don't think it's just purely a fatigue thing, though. I think the way our defence is organised is wrong. And you could argue, well, what's he know? That I coach at a very low level of rugby, but the kick chases didn't seem coordinated. People were going up in bits, but the defence were doing that as well. The defence left huge gaps in the second half.
Yeah,
we've talked about this already. We need a defence coach.
Yes, absolutely.
Kevin Sinfield's looking for a job.
Yeah, I mean, we do have Sam Hobbs that's leading the defence combined with Dave Flanagan, but he's combining his duties alongside the Dragons Academy. So he's not a full-time specialist defence coach. He's just sort of helping us out a bit. But yeah, I do agree. I think a full-time defence coach is something that we need to go on to. Just looking at some other comments then, I managed to get them up now. David Cox says, we obviously have the skills to score tries and defend well for large parts of the game. Why can't we close sides down, especially at home? We seem to lose all shape of communication when the bench comes on. What does Di feel needs to happen to turn these close games into wins? Why do you think now is then, Gav, that we fail to close sides down, especially at home, he says? Is that a mentality thing?
I don't know if it's a mentality thing as much as an experience and a knowledge thing. You'll have played in games that you should have won. that the game management went wrong. I've definitely played in games like that. The difference is sometimes in those games, you have somebody who says, right, this is what we're going to do now. Every time we get a ball in our off, we're shoving it in their off. We're going to play all the rugby down there, and we're going to put all the pressure on them, and we are not going to play any rugby in our own off now. So really simplistic. Ball goes to 10. Whenever we get the ball in our off, ball goes in that corner. Simple as that. And you just need somebody to do that. And we don't seem to have that thinking, which is, we are going to grind this now. This is going to be horrible to watch. I don't care, because we're going to win this game of rugby. And that's the challenge, isn't it? Kind of, the fans would argue they wouldn't want that. But do they want to win? Because sometimes that's what you have to do. You have to ruin the game to win the game.
I definitely would have taken a really scrappy, turgid, kick-heavy last 10 minutes of that game if it meant Dragons won, because the approach was not correct. To play that kind of rugby, running it from your 22, looking for miracle passes, throwing balls out of touch over people's heads to people's feet, that was not what was required.
If you're going to do that, you've got to be technically right on it. Team, I am of the view, no team should be trying to run it from their own 22. France might get away with it, but we don't have, we don't have Romana Intermac and Antoine Dupont. They're not living in Risca, so it's not really helping us a great deal. You can't do it. Get them coming on you, kick it over their heads, turn them all around, slow the ball down, and grind at it.
Absolutely, I agree. Another comment then, Dave Ashton. We've mentioned this, but it goes back to what I said. Just an observation, but when we played the preseason games, we took the points to win the game. when it's for real, we threw away a chance to kick a goal and make it 26, which may have changed the outcome. Yep, I've said it. It was the wrong decision. It's ironic.
Kick those points, we win it. I'll say that now.
Yeah, it's ironic though, isn't it? We did it in pre-season to prepare us for the new season, and then when it came to the real thing, the game that actually mattered, we didn't do it, and that's what's very disappointing for me. Quite frankly, it's really, I didn't see the point of doing that in pre-season. Then, you might as well kick the corner then if you're not going to practice and bring it into the competitive games. Do you know what I mean? And why bother having that approach in the first place? Yeah, very disappointed. Comment here from Chris Tanner. Just an observation, but the music through the tannoy system was extremely ridiculously loud on the terrace. Two things. So first of all, he is right. It was too loud. I'm in the business stand. I'm not on the terrace. I'm in the posh seats. But yes, it is too loud. He's right. The music we play at Dragons game is bloody awful. We play some really bad music. So I got a season ticket for Newport County as well. And they play really good selection of music. They play like a lot of indie stuff, a lot of rock numbers, but it gets the crowd going. We play really bad 90s dance, trance, awful stuff. And I did send you the clip, Gav. They also played, we had a break in play and they blasted out ELO's Mr. Blue Sky. So, Gav, can you just, do you want to explain to the listeners about your absolute hatred of ELO's Mr. Blue Sky?
It's the most overrated piece of anything that's ever been produced by a human being. It's fine if you want to listen to a shit Beatles tribute. That's all there is. It's like, oh, you know the Beatles? You know the best parts of it? Well, this is the opposite. This is all the worst part of the Beatles in 4.5 minutes. And honestly, anything Jeff Lynne touches turns to absolute crap. But it summed it up for me. Oh, let's play Mr. Blue Sky. First of all, it's Newport, Blue skies. Secondly, the game was starting to go at that point as well. So, no, nobody's feeling that vibe. Honestly.
As soon as they played it, I know. As soon as they played it, I said to my dad, he's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm just filming this. I'll send it to Gav. He'll know exactly what's going on here. It summed it up, really, didn't it?
And I didn't see it until I'd finished playing. And I'd come off the field. I was sat in the clubhouse. So, oh, what's Jamie sent me? And I've seen them. Oh, they're absolute shit houses.
That's why I said to you, sound off. So you don't like yellow at all, do you?
No. I like that
I
one
love
that Paul
yellow.
Weller ripped off. That's the only one I like.
What's that one?
Oh, I don't know. It's something overture. It's
Oh, right.
he rips off the riff for Changing Man. Weller does.
Oh, right. Okay. I love yellow. What annoys me though, I'm the same as you. I don't really like Mr. Blue Sky because it is so overplayed. And when you hear it on stations like Magic, Smooth, Greatest Hits Radio, they always play that song, and I think, no, they've done better songs. Play "Don't Bring Me Down." Play
Oh,
"Telephone
that's all
Night." I
right.
know you hate.
Yeah.
I know you hate these songs. You
No,
hate
Don't
Yellow,
Bring
but
Me
they've
Down
done
is
much
all
better
right.
stuff.
It's my
Yeah.
old man's fault. My old man owned about 4 records. 2 of them were yellow. 2 of them were Dire Straits. So I have a blind spot for both bands.
I will say, "Sweet Talking Woman" is one of my favorite songs of all time. Yeah, I don't know what you think of that one, but that is on my playlist. It's a classic, "Sweet Talking Woman."
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not sure how I feel about that, but
but yes, the music is too loud, and I'm not going to lie, I don't like the music that gets played at
it was a
Dragons
weird
games.
collection of stuff as well. Like I kind of, I could hear it really clearly on Via Play, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit odd.
They play Out Here Brothers, Boom, Boom, Boom,
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
Says Radio. And I remember when that came out as a kid, and I hated it then. And I absolutely, as a 40-year-old bloke, I don't want to be hearing that anymore. That should be confined to the dustbin of history. I don't want to boom, 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 everybody say, woo, woo. No,
But I
that's
could
no.
understand it because I just assume when CEO scored, that does it boom boom boom, everybody says CEO, but I get that. But then
No, they always play it though.
When Corey Baldwin scores as well, yeah, come on, boys, let's use it a bit wiser.
Now you said that would work well with CEO, wouldn't it? Every time he scores, then play it because then you go CEO and that works.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they always play Out Your Brothers, Boom, 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 and it's one of the worst songs that's ever
Could be
made.
worse. Could be Freed from Desire, which every other club plays when they score.
Yeah, so I don't know who the DJ is down at the Dragons, but what we need is a Newport County DJ to come in and play some proper tunes. That's just my observation.
No, music is much better at County. When I was there, first home game of the season, yeah, that was great music.
Yeah, that's just my opinion, of course, and I'm sure maybe fans don't mind the music, but yeah, I don't like it at all. I tell you what, I did find disappointing, Gav, was the attendance. So the attendance was 4,212. Now, I was expecting a larger attendance than that. I thought we'd have somewhere closer to 5,000, because I thought, well, we were unbeaten in pre-season. There was a feel-good factor going into it. Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff. I know you got clubs and stuff playing, but that's my favorite kickoff time, to be honest. Saturday, 3 o'clock. Yeah. I thought that was ideal, and I thought it was a really disappointing attendance, especially when you consider we played the Ospreys in pre-season, and I got 4,670. That was kind of the figure I thought we'd be looking at. And there was a lot of empty seats over on the terrace, on the compete stand, especially in Block A. Block A is normally pretty full, but there was an awful lot of empty seats. And I did say to my dad at the time, this is a bit of a disappointing attendance, I thought. But with Cardiff coming to town, it's going to be a lot better. I mean, these are the kind of games where it's not going to sell out. I don't think we'll get a sellout, but we should have at least 6K for this one.
It's Sunday, isn't it, this week, the Cardiff game, which...
It is a Sunday, yeah. It's Sunday at 2:30. Now, a lot of fans don't like Sunday games. I don't mind them. To be honest with you, I don't have an issue with Sunday games, but there are a lot of supporters who really don't like the Sunday game. It is, of course, the day after the World Cup final, so I don't suppose they could really had it on the Saturday or the night. So I suppose it's better on a Sunday, and on the Friday then you got the bronze final if anyone actually cares about that. But it is what it is, isn't it? What do you feel about Sunday games? Are you bothered by them, or
it's part of the professional game now, isn't it? And Via Play will want to get as many games on as they can, and I understand it. It's not a huge problem. If it was a Sunday 2:00 kickoff at Munster, or that'd be a bit trickier. But it's Cardiff, Newport. It's not hard to get between the two cities, is it?
No, not at all. When we beat Munster last season, unexpectedly, that was on a Sunday as well. Just saying. So it could be a good sign. I don't know. It could be a good sign. We shall wait and see. So there we are then. I think that's the Dragons Edinburgh game covered. Thank you to everybody who submitted their questions. There is another question I've got to add as well, but I'll do that later on because it relates to the Cardiff game. But yeah, thank you very much for everyone getting in touch. Right then, I think it's time for Gav's Gwent Rugby Roundup. And you must be happy this weekend because I know Dragons lost, of course, but Ebbw Vale, they're doing all right, Gav, aren't they?
Top of the Indigo Premiership.
Yes.
So, but it's all top three sides are all Gwent sides. Newport.
Excellent.
Newport beat Carmarthen 34-26. They've got a game in hand over Llandovery, so I think then Vale beat Neath 17-35 at the Knoll, which is a great result. I remember going to watch us get absolutely panelled at the Knoll a long time ago now, though, pre-professionalism. And Pontypool won 41-30 against Pontypridd, which Lee Jarvis no doubt will have been kicking his furniture over. But the challenge is now, though, and I don't know if you've seen the news, the WRU Elite Development Competition has already hit a bit of a fork in the road because the Cardiff-based sides within the Premier League have all said they're not really interested in it and they're not sure what it will bring for them. So Merthyr, Cardiff RFC and Pontypridd have all said, don't know. And there's rumours coming out that some of the Dragons-based sides are also questioning the effectiveness of it and the fact that there'll be less rugby and they're fearing less money as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a valid concern, though, isn't it? Would you say?
It is a valid concern, but as much as I'm very happy right now because my team are top of the Premiership, that is not a competition that is creating the next generation of Welsh players. That is not offering our academies boys decent rugby. And that's the problem. Before we recorded, you talked about the kind of the talent train going to England.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think playing for Ebbw Vale against Neath in kind of half empty grounds is going to convince anyone that going and getting free education in England is going to be a bad idea. It's something needs to be sorted out to do it. But I don't know what the WRU are proposing because there'll be 10 teams and it'll be based on different criteria. Well, how's that going to be different to what we've got now? We've got the 12 best semi-pro teams in the 11 best in RGC in the Premiership. I don't know what it brings.
Yeah, and I think, look, I don't know if this is the answer. These plans in Italy, but we talked about this briefly on the RAP podcast. I've said there needs to be something to help close the gap because at the moment the gap between semi-pro and professional URC is quite big. And we've seen so many youngsters and players who can't make that step up. Yes, some of them do, granted. You look at the Dragons, yes, Will Reid has, Di Richards has, and Ivan Owen and other players, but there's a lot of players who just can't make it. And there needs to be a way or a system that helps narrow the gap between semi-pro and pro. And the WRU have tried for years. I don't think they really know what the answer is. If you look at the Premiership, it's been constantly tinkered around with, isn't it? And I don't think they know what to do or how to close the gap. There's a know-how to close the gap. Like they know they need to do it, but it seems to me that they don't know quite what way to go about it.
I think at the minute, because the clubs are in the pathways, but not really in the pathways, there's every player at the region needs to be assigned to a club within that region, and it's a case of if you aren't playing, you can play for these clubs, and then there needs to be greater movement of players. We need to be blooding players up. We're also players who aren't getting enough regular rugby playing down. The standard needs to be up. The quality of refereeing needs to be up as well.
Yeah.
It just needs to be a professional competition. Because if you look at Pro D2, which is swimming in money, so that's not a point of comparison. But the English Championship is a point of comparison.
Yes. I mean,
You know,
that does seem to be well run, doesn't it? And, the
it is.
standard is pretty good there.
Yeah, they are good play, but they are players who play down regularly. They're guys on loan from the top clubs, playing at Ampthill, playing at Bedford, playing at all these teams. Whereas it seems to not be thought out. Kind of. If I was Will Reed and I'd be looking at that side saying, right, if I could play a whole season of a high-level competition where I am the starting 10, that will better prepare me for what my career is going to look like, rather than doing 15 minutes off the bench for Dragons every week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to keep an eye on these elite league plans, because it does sound like already there's some spanner in the works there, doesn't there? So
Yeah.
we'll keep an eye on that
So,
one.
so I went off slightly on a
Oh, it's
tangent there,
okay.
but so in the championship, well, not a great weekend for Gwent sides. Cross Keys lost 40-34 away to Cardiff Met, and Bedwas lost 37-12 away to Glamorgan Wanderers. Championship, not really great hunting ground for the Gwent sides at the minute. Then in Division 1 East, Blaenavon beat Abergavenny 26-16. Bedlinog drew 28-all with Annis-D. Bryn Mawr, who are top of the shop at the minute, they absolutely destroyed Monmouth 75-14. Lot of ex-Ebbw Vale lads involved in the setup in Bryn Mawr, and it's really starting to kind of have a bit of an impact there.
Okay.
Talwine beat Nelson away, and Talwine is second in the league. And Pontypool United beat Risca 27-17. Then, kind of going down the leagues, lots of our clubs are doing very well. Aberglaowy, Blaenau Gwent, top Division 2. Abercarn, top Division 3. Newport Saracens 4. Pontefraith, top Division 5. And I don't know if you saw the story coming out of Pontefraith. One of their players, it was his last ever game of rugby on the weekend. And the reason he's retiring from rugby is because he's given up a kidney to one of his friends, and he can't play
really?
again.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a really lovely gesture, that, isn't it?
And he had a guard of honour coming on and off the pitch from they were playing Blackwood Blackwood Stars, I think, on the weekend. So yeah, good stuff come out there. But what I did notice is down in Division 6, so that Trevel have played no games now. If you're well acquainted with the Eastern Valleys, Trevel is probably the scariest place to play rugby in the entire world. I played youth rugby there as a kid, and it's terrifying. It's halfway up a mountain. It's the ground was surrounded by barbed wire. It was just this terrifying place to go, and it just felt like a kind of a kind of one of those coming of age moments as a youth player, going to Trevel, particularly if you were playing against the adult side and just getting your head kicked in by massive farmers. And Trevel haven't played any games. Now, kind of speaking to friends up there saying, well, it looks like they're going to fold. And this follows on from Tredegar dropping out of the league system last year. Tredegar, club my dad played for over a decade. Tredegar, which is a club which has produced top players like Frank Jackas and Mark Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm worrying what's going to happen to grassroots rugby, because I think professional rugby will survive, but not everybody can play professional rugby. I could never play professional rugby, but I still play at nearly 50 years of age because grassroots rugby exists. But also, what are happening? These are clubs with huge histories. Tredegar, over 100 years old, and then you look at the way competitions are organised. So, for instance, this weekend is a cup weekend, and Tredegar Ironsides, another of my old man's former clubs, have got an away cup tie against Ruthin Seconds. Now, I don't know how many players Tredegar Ironsides have got, but are they going to go to the other side of the country to play a cup game? Probably not. What are we doing? We've got regionalised leagues. Why haven't we got regionalised cups till the later rounds? Because there's too much for other people to do now. Tredegar were desperately putting out cries to play. I was considering travelling up to Gwent to shove my boots on at nearly 50 years of age to play for them, because the idea of like a club of that history was folding. So I'm wondering what the WRU was going to do to support these clubs in existence. We grew up in the Eastern Valleys, both of us, Jamie, and the rugby club is a centre point, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. It's
Of
a big
your
part of the
community.
community. Yeah.
And definitely the case in Trevel, definitely the case in Tredegar. At my old man's wake at Tredegar Rugby Club, it's a point. And what are we going to do? Are we just going to let clubs like that go by the wayside? Are we just going to say, oh, and the argument would be, well, not enough people want to play rugby anymore. Well, why is that? Why are they not?
Yeah.
Because, Steph, who does the Rock and Roll podcast, he coaches a new Tredegar. They've got loads at their minis every weekend. And a friend of mine coaching in Brumley, loads at their minis. So what's happening? What is happening beyond that point? Do you have a view on it, Jamie?
Well, I think Welsh rugby is struggling from top to bottom, to be honest. I mean, we do focus a lot on the struggles of pro rugby, in particular the regions, but actually the grassroots, from the bottom up, I just think the game is going through a crossroads right now. And there was a program on BBC Wales this week where they talked about kids being, well, not so much poached, but like going to England, playing for Hartby and going through the English system. Apparently what started as a trickle is now a flood, because there's like very little opportunities now in Wales. And they talked about grassroots rugby. There's so many games now being cancelled. They're saying that the rugby that's being played in secondary schools has dropped in Wales. So that's worrying in itself. We got to look at everything. We got to look at the pathways. We got to look at the schools. The WRU need to do a proper review from grassroots up to the top, because I do agree with you. It is worrying, and it's sad, isn't it? When you see great clubs like Tredegar, and we've seen like even Leffley, they're struggling, and they've got so much history and tradition, and they are a big part of the community. And when you see them in real dire straits like that, it is sad and it is worrying. So it's down to the WRU to undertake a proper review and help out the grassroots. But like I said, from the bottom upwards, it just needs reform, doesn't it?
And it's not just a Welsh problem. I play grassroots rugby in England, and the number of teams playing in my county is halved nearly in the 17 years I've been here.
Yeah.
There's more for people to do, but I just feel it's sad that Tredegar aren't on the side out, that Trevel aren't on the side out, that Aberl area side, which is produced British Lions, has had to merge just to survive. It just doesn't feel right.
No, absolutely. I do share your concerns, and I don't know the answers. I really don't know. I just think this is something that WRU really need to get a grip of and help out the grassroots club, because Lee Jarvis is on that program, and like he said, players aren't born with a Welsh jersey. They all start from grassroots, whether they go on to play for the regions or the country. They start at grassroots, and those are the beginnings. And it is worrying. Like I said, great clubs are, struggling, and players are not there. They can't raise a side. Too many games getting cancelled. But I just think the WRU really need to pull their fingers out and really help out the clubs and the program. They've got a responsibility. They're the governing body. They're the ones that need to
absolutely, and they're responsible for every part of the organisation. From the the Trevels of the world all the way up to the Scarlets. Everything has to be managed effectively.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about rugby being a national sport of Wales. I don't think it is anymore. I actually think football is. And in terms of participation numbers and people watching, I think you'll find football now is greater than rugby. So, when people make the old cliche of it's our national game and all this, sadly, I don't think it is anymore.
Well,
I don't.
And I don't know if it ever was. I always remember, local working men's clubs would be full for internationals, but they weren't full of rugby fans. They were full of people having a drink, and the rugby was a kind of a sideline.
It's a social event. So when I go to the Principality Stadium to watch Wales, I went in the autumn. It's a different crowd.
Yeah.
And this is common knowledge, so everybody knows this. When you go to a Wales game compared to when you go to a regional game, it's a very, very different crowd going to Cardiff, because there's people, a lot of them just on the pop, and it's a social event,
And Twickenham's the same as well. Twickenham is very similar, very different crowd if you go and watch England at Twickenham than if you go and watch, the Harlequins or whoever.
Yeah, if you haven't got your tweed jacket and you haven't got your Land Rover, then you don't really fit into the
Yeah.
Twickenham.
Mustard trousers.
Yes, coloured trousers. That's always a sign of someone who's posh. That is coloured trousers.
Absolutely, particularly plum. If
Yes.
you're wearing plum, you don't need to worry about money.
Indeed. Okay, so yeah, that's the Gwent rugby roundup and the concerns around the grassroots game. And thanks for bringing that up, Gav. Let's move on then to the first Welsh derby of the new season this Sunday, 2:30. Here's, of course, Dragons Cardiff at Ronnie Parade. The game is live on Viaplay Sports only, but same as last weekend, there will be a full match replay on S4C. I can't remember what time it is. You'll have to check the schedule, but I did see that they were doing a full match replay. If you haven't got Viaplay or you do want to watch us, if we win, I probably will watch the full match replay again. But yeah, and there'll be highlights on Scrum 5 or have you. But like I said, if you haven't got Viaplay, you want to watch a full match, then S4C is the place for you. So, Gav, we haven't beaten Cardiff. I mean, we all know about this record now, but just to reiterate, so we haven't beaten Cardiff in the league since Boxing Day 2014. If you remember when we had Ryan Lamman on the pod, when he was talking about that game, well, that was the last time that we actually beat Cardiff in the league. The last time we beat them was actually 2015, and that was in the Challenge Cup quarterfinals where we knocked Cardiff out of the Challenge Cup on that particular occasion. So it's been a very long time. I believe it's 15 games in a row we've lost against Cardiff. It's painful. It's painful. It's a horrible record. It's an embarrassing record. I hate this game. I spoke about it on the pad. I've got a lot of apathy about this game. It's not even my favourite derby. I much prefer Ospreys. That's my favourite derby when they come to Ronnie Parade. We've always had really good games and battles against the Ospreys. I like it when we play the Scarlets, but this is the one game in the calendar I absolutely hate for various reasons. So what are your thoughts and feelings going into this weekend? We'll talk about score predictions later, but do you think the Dragons can get over this mind block, this hoodoo that Cardiff seem to have over us?
Have we had a better opportunity than this would be my question, I think. That would be the question I would ask. Have we had a better opportunity to beat them? Because, yeah, we are weakened, but they are weakened. But they were mortally weakened anyway. Look at their squad. I reckon if you ask Harley, as a Cardiff fan, does he know half these players, he'd be struggling. It's... I think absolutely this has to be absolutely focused on. It has to be laser guided kind of thinking, how are we going to win this game? And we'll win this game by playing really, really simple rugby. Do
you think we'll learn the lessons, though? That's what we're going to say to you. Will Dragons look? Because we talk about this all the time, don't we? You hear the Dragons players say it, you hear the coaches say it. They talk about learning lessons, but very rarely they do. So are they going to be able to learn the lessons this time?
Well, surely they have to. If they don't, they've got a problem, haven't they? They've got a significant problem if they don't. Because what are they going to do? This game isn't just must win now. It's absolutely vital. I think this is going to be, kind of the point which our season is the fulcrum of. Because if we win this, we can move forward. If we lose this, we've lost half of our 4 home games right at the start already. Where does it go from there?
Yeah,
it's not getting any better, is it?
Oh, I think this is why it's been labelled as a must-win, purely for those reasons. Because you mentioned earlier, after Cardiff, we got to go away to Munster. Now, don't forget, we won't have 7 of our key players because they played in that Barbarians game against Wales at the stadium. We got Leinster at home. That's going to be very difficult. We got Ospreys. And then we go to South Africa. We play the Sharks. And then we play the Lions. It's a very tough run. So if they don't win this weekend, I don't know where the win is coming from in that first block. No. I just can't see where we're going to pick up a win. But
I totally
did you
agree.
see? Yeah, did you see anything of Cardiff Benetton? So similar to our game, then Cardiff they blew it
Yes.
against Benetton big time. So they lost 23-22. So both teams coming into this game off the back of disappointing defeats. Both teams should have won their opening games. Cardiff were leading. I mean, we talk about us blowing a 14-3 lead. Cardiff were 19-3 ahead at one point in that game. So they massively blew it. And of course, did you see that red card that their prop, Kieran Parker, had?
Yes.
It was absolutely horrendous, wasn't it?
You know, that was, sometimes you could say, oh, is that red? That wasn't red. That was purple. You know, that was properly red.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, but again, now they were their own kind of downfall, weren't they, Cardiff? Again, just play sensible rugby.
Yeah.
You know, kind of, I think we've got to, as fans, we have to understand now that they aren't there to entertain us. We might think they entertain us, but they aren't. No. But the coaches need to understand that as well. And you could say, oh, you know, they're kind of like PVAC or creative rugby is in my blood. Fine, mate. Win some games and then we can worry about that. Just
absolutely
horrible rugby.
Yeah, and it goes back to what Chris Curran was saying in this match report. You know, he talked about, yes, Dragons do play a nice attacking game. They play at tempo, but there's a time and a place.
Yeah.
And that second half, in those last 10 minutes, as I've spoke about, there was neither the time or the place to have a chuck about. It just wasn't. We needed to make it ugly. We need to make it tight. We need to make it gritty. And we completely missed the memo on that one.
And if our defence was better organised, then you might get away with it. But any loose balls, we were really, really open to a counter-attack because the defence was at 6 and 7. We've got to go to this Cardiff team and we've just got to beat them up. Like, you know, kind of, we've got to... I do worry about the... Yeah, I've never think... You know, kind of... Cardiff think Dylan Lewis is a good idea, so I'm not that worried about their scrummaging. But I'm worried about our scrummaging. Are we going to be able to provide a... You know, I think Martinez he struggled. He struggled with the referee and he struggled with his opposite number. And yeah, it was... Well, he was up. No, he wasn't up against Gavin because he's lucid as well, and he tight. But you know, that wasn't a great scrummage they were facing. We've got to do that, and we've got to win that breakdown, and we've got to have a physical presence in the centre of that field. So you know, I think move North into the second row. Have Lydiate at 6.
Yeah, the one thing I would say about this fixture, though, I think Cardiff have got some injury issues in their own mind. They haven't got James Beaufort. They're not going to have Thomas Young. They're not going to have Josh Turnbull and many other players. Owen Lane came off injured. They're not going to have him. Those players have caused Dragons a lot of damage in the past. And the one player I'm very glad is not involved in this fixture and won't be for some time is Jared Evans. Now, everyone's got their own view on Jared Evans. Whether you think he's international standard or not is irrelevant. In this fixture, he always caused Dragons problems. We can never quite handle his jinky running, his kicking game. He always seemed to have a really good game against Dragons, and I am glad that he's not going to be involved. So I've looked at their fly-off. This team has to be the South Africa, the Cardiff gone now. Now, he looks a decent fly-off. I don't know if you saw this, but he actually got timed out for one of his kicks.
I did, yes.
And Harley was saying on the Rap podcast, he's concerned about how long he takes. He apparently takes a very long time to get himself composed to take kicks a goal. He strikes me as a hot and cold player. So I think on his day, he could be very good for Cardiff and he could get a couple of player of match awards. But he does strike me as a player as well who could be very cold. And we need to make sure that he's very cold at Rodney Parade on Sunday. But we are probably going to have to make a change of fly half because Kai Evans is not available for this game. Dave Flanagan's not going to select him because of the head knock. So they're probably going to start. This is a guess because we don't know the teams at the time of recording this podcast. My guess would be that they'll either start Will Reid at 10 and have Angus drop back to full back. Or you could, I don't know how you feel about this, you could start Angus O'Brien at 10 and then you bring in Jordan Williams at fullback. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
I think I would
what would you
probably
do?
I'd have Jordan at 15, I think.
Yeah,
I think Angus's kicking game is what we want. And what I want to see is the South African 10 at Cardiff. Let's see what he's like. Let's put him under pressure. Let's put big balls, the high balls on top of him. Let's see how he deals with that. Let's isolate him. Let's have, whoever is Harry or Ollie or whoever, just knock him over a couple of times and see how much he wants to control the game. It's
absolutely.
It's an old-fashioned way of playing, but if you think he's a weak link, test it, pull it, see what happens, and if it breaks, that's great, and if it doesn't, have a plan B.
No, absolutely. I think set piece is going to be key in this game. But in terms of team news for us, there is talk about Dan Lydiat returning. Again, Dave Flang going to be very cautious about this return. He was saying things like, well, we'll have to see if it's right for him, it's right for the team. I mean, I will add, yes, he played in the World Cup. He played one game. He only played 54 minutes against Portugal. Get him in the bloody team. I mean, I don't see the issue with it personally, do you? I mean, surely in a game like this, where we talked about the lack of leadership, and this is a big game for Dragons. For me, it's a no-brainer. He's got to be in that team.
Oh God, yeah, 100%. We do not have a balanced enough back row, and we won't have Tane. So,
no,
we need a bit more balance there. And I understand. I understand why he likes a second row at 6. Gives you a bit of weight, gives you a bit of oomph, also gives you a bit of defensive solidity. But who's more defensively solid than Dan Lydiat?
Exactly. There was a question I was going to come to now. So we got this one from Tom Harrison. He says, with everyone, and this does mean everyone, with everyone fit and on form, what is our back row? So have a think about that one, Gav. What do you think when we go all the internationals, everyone's fit? What's your Dragons back row?
Harry, Ollie, Tane.
Okay. So I went for different, I did. So I went for Wainwright at 6. Then I went for Kelly at 7. Then I went for Ollie at 8.
Yeah. Or Wainwright.
Tane won't get into it.
No, Wainwright at 8, maybe.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting where they put Wayne right now because there's a lot of talk of him playing at number 8. But I think his best position is 6. I like him on the blind side.
Yeah.
For Wales and
everyone fair. I completely forgot that we'd have him, to be honest. Because how regularly will we have him? That's the other question, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. There is talk about Leon Brown featuring in this game. I mean, I thought he was going to be involved last week, but I did say to you, and I said on this part, didn't I? Don't be surprised if he's wrapped up in cotton wool now he's been selected for Wales. But I think we could do with Leon on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lloyd Fairbrother is a decent scrummager, but it'd be good to have Leon on the bench just to come off and add a bit of carry and a bit of impact. And, obviously his work at the scrum time, we know that's a work in progress, but I really think we could do with Lydiat and Leon, because I think that gives us a bit of a lift. If we got those guys coming back, it does give us a bit of a lift, doesn't it?
Yeah. When is Ashton coming back? Do we know that?
I believe he is in contention to feature in this game. Like I said, it's difficult to know with the squad's not being announced yet. But I did read in the Argus that Ashton is going to be in contention. But then who would you drop? Because Jared Rossa was very, very good. Corey Baldwin was all right. Yeah, he did get caught out defensively on a few occasions. So what would you do? You'd probably drop Baldwin, would you? Or
I think I'd drop Baldwin. Or, I think Jared Ross is in the form of his life at the minute.
Yeah.
And, I agree. And is good going forward and in defence. Yeah, and I don't, I wasn't a huge fan when we talked about Corey Baldwin. He looked decent with the ball in hand. But I think when you have Ashton and you have Rio available, that's something else. Then it's going to keep teams more honest, and it's going to change teams' kicking game because you don't want to be dropping long balls on the Rio Dyer.
No, quite right. So predictions then. So I said on the Rap podcast this week, I said Cardiff by 6. I never backed Dragons to beat Cardiff just because of our honking record against them. And I've seen so many near misses. And every time I think, yes, we're going to do it, we never do. So for me now, I just write this fixture off. I know that sounds a bit negative, but I've got to see it to believe it. And I do think that we have a mental block against Cardiff. Yeah. I know some players and like Di Flang will say, no, it's not mental, but for me it is. It has to be, because out of the 15 games that we've lost in a row, 10 of them are near misses, so they've all been tight games. So for me, that's an inability, a mental block to get over the line. And like I talked about that game last Boxing Day at Bondi Parade, we should have won that, but then we made a couple of dull decisions. It comes back to game management, game management in our Edinburgh game management the last time in this fixture. It's got to be spot on. We've got to make the right decisions. We've got to keep our cool. We've got to go in hard at the breakdown. So I am predicting, unfortunately, Cardiff by 6. But I hope to God I'm wrong. But yeah, I just think it's going to be another one of those games where, fortunately, we'll take a lead and then we'll do something to stuff it up in the last 10 minutes or so. Are you more optimistic than me, Gav? I got a feeling you are.
I am, yeah. Why not?
It doesn't take much, I know, but
no, I'm going to say Dragons by 3. But okay. I think we'll come close to throwing it away. I think I think we'll be like 20 minutes to go and we'll be about 20-8 up. And they'll score a couple of tries, and then it'll just be blind panic.
But that's my concern, see. If we get a good lead going, like we did against Edinburgh, if Cardiff come back into it, score a try or two, are we going to crumble under pressure again? That would be the question mark I got over this Dragons team. Are we going to learn lessons from last week, or are we going to fold and go into our shells like we did last week?
It'll have to be selection. I wonder, kind of. Lydiate needs to be part of it. We need some cool heads. We need some people who know what it is to win important games at the last minute.
Yeah, and we need the bench. Whoever's on the bench, they need to make an impact because that did not happen against Edinburgh. So we need people to come off the bench and really make a mark in this game.
Do we have the players to do it, though? That's my question around that bench. I think when we've got everyone, we'll have a bench because there'll be guys, you can put Jared Rosser on the bench. You can put guys on who'll make a difference. But the problem is, we don't really have that, do we, at the minute?
No, we don't. So anyway, that's our thoughts and preview and prediction on our Cardiff game. I'll be there, of course. It is a Sunday at +2. So if you go in, enjoy the game. I won't. I can tell you that now because I hate this. I hate this fixture. I hate this game, and maybe I will enjoy it if we win. But I really never look forward to these Cardiff games. Thank you as always, Gav. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. We will chat next week where we'll be hopefully talking about Dragons breaking the Cardiff curse.
We will be. I'm convinced.
Oh, there we are. It's good to end on a positive, isn't it? Brilliant stuff. Okay, so you can find us on the usual places. We're on Twitter or X, whichever way you want to call it, at Dragon Slayer Pod. We are available on Facebook. We're on Spotify. Please follow us and rate us. It really does help. We appreciate it. We are in the process of going to Apple, but it takes time apparently. So Lee and Sports Social are sorting that out. So for those asking, yes, we do plan to be on Apple Podcasts. Just be patient and we'll be on this soon. So thank you very much all for listening and speak to you next week, Gav. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Dragon's Lair podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. Please subscribe, rate and review wherever you listen to us, as it really helps spread the word. You can find us on all the usual social media channels or email us on welshregionalrugbypod@gmail.com. And remember, whatever the question is, rugby is always the answer.
Sports Social Podcast Network.